All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, whenever you're watching this. Happy Friday to you all. We are back in the studio, home studio, after many weeks off. I'm going to take a minute here, trying to get everything situated because everything feels foreign to me. And we're going to try to get this thing up and going. We'll see what happens here. Already having issues with stuff. So just bear with me, stand by, and we'll see what happens to get this thing going. Hope everybody's doing well. Take a couple of weeks off, and you come back, and everything is foreign. Let's see here. All right, we're gonna go on with it. So, all right, no Instagram this morning, no Twitter this morning. That's all right. We're gonna bat 1,000 here and see what's going on. Yeah, we took the last couple weeks off, and it was kind of crazy because it seemed like right when we took off, a whole bunch of stuff just started happening. And we'll get into that here in just a minute. But what's going on in everybody else's world out there? Let me know where you guys are watching this from. It's Facebook land, LinkedIn, YouTube. That's what we're on this morning because everything else just decided not to work, and that's okay. Share that quick. Let's get some people on here. If you're watching, let me know where you're at. It's good to be back behind the mic and back in the swing of things. But like I said, when you take that much time off, it feels weird kind of being back. It feels good, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, just getting everything set up and whatnot. So anyway, we're gonna get started. Took the last 3 weeks off, and the whole world kind of went upside down. Right? What the hell is that all about? Where was I the last 3 weeks? Last 3 weeks, I took a road trip. Went out to Fort Knox. Uh, my son graduated CST ROTC program out there as advanced camp, and then went up to Wisconsin. Did my annual fishing trip and stuff up there, which was great. Spent a lot of time with different parts of the families and stuff like that. Had a good time up there. Ken, good morning, brother. Appreciate you jumping on. Glad I'm not on here by myself. Went up to Wisconsin. Great fishing trip up there. Went all the way up to Hayward, Wisconsin. The weather was beautiful. God's country up there. Absolutely love it. Came back, and this past week on Tuesday, I got home last Saturday, and then Tuesday I did an impromptu drive. I drove 5.5 hours. My son was doing an internship up at Fort Drum, and so we packed up the car and we drove up to take him to dinner and had a blast. And blessed that he is doing so well, chasing his dreams and whatnot. So yeah, a lot of in Fort Drum. Like, I don't know if any of you watching out there, leave a comment if you've ever been stationed at Fort Drum or did training at Fort Drum. That was my first time up there, and my God, it is beautiful up there. I would not want to live there in the winter months. It looks like that place looks like it gets some snow. I've heard stories. The weather was mid 60s on Tuesday and Wednesday when we were up there. Came back Wednesday afternoon, but yeah, just absolutely gorgeous up there. Very impressed. Also, while I was on the road trip, while I was traveling, when I was in Kentucky, I got to meet some HMG family members. I got to meet Homefront sit rep founder David Willis. For the very first time, we sat down, broke bread, had great conversation, and it was great to finally meet him and everything that you do. You see Homefront Sit Rep; they do a show a couple times a week, and you see it live here on our HMG channel as well. And then as I was driving up to Wisconsin, I stopped in just south of Indianapolis and met John Mayo, Jonathan Mayo, for the John Mayo podcast for the very first time. Great conversation with him, a longtime friend. Good conversation. Sat for about 2 hours, sipping coffee and just talking about life, and it was absolutely wonderful. And then usually when I'm up in Wisconsin, I go across the river over into Minnesota, and I try to go see the People's Patriot Project. I've known these guys for, I think we've said, close to a decade. Um, they were one of the first podcast shows on the HMG network when it first created, and I've been a big fan of their supporter of the People's Patriot Project. Mark and Andrea, appreciate you guys. Great meeting up with you guys. Had breakfast with them one morning, so it was just it's nice when you get on the road and you get to see people that are part of this network, and then meeting people who are a part of this network for the very first time is really fun. So I had a good time with that. What do we have here? Jeremy Daniels, how you doing? Appreciate you. Never wanted to go to the north. Yeah, yeah. Drum is up there quite a ways. Appreciate you guys jumping on this morning. Um, so I'm looking at, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. So I'm just kind of spitballing and shooting from the hip here this week. But when I left, I think our last show was July 12th, and I think, like, just a few days later here in Pennsylvania, former President Trump was speaking, and uh, you see a lot, and this is kind of old news, but I'm bringing it up because it just seems like so much has happened in the last 3 weeks. Assassination attempt on former President Trump, and the stories that came out after that. You see, Secret Service failed. Those local eels that failed. It was just a security cluster, the entire thing. Will we ever know the truth of what really happened that day, and what it was? Probably not. Probably not. And you're still seeing stuff that comes out. And it was just it was a giant crap show. And hopefully it doesn't happen again. So Pop is on. Love it. Yeah, Ken, it sure was. It was just it's and it boggles my mind because I've seen Trump speak on more than, I don't know, probably about a half a dozen occasions at different events. I remember the first time seeing him was 2016 at MT&T Stadium. It was the Army Navy game, and the security, and it wasn't just Secret Service. I mean, this was back in 2016. I mean, they shut the whole stadium down in Baltimore, and it was something else. So, I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying, the A team wasn't there. I'm not even sure if it was the junior I team that was watching him. And, I'll go as far as to say, you probably had some elementary teams that could have did a better job protecting him that day. And that's probably going to piss a lot of people off. And quite frankly, I hope it does. Because it's completely uncalled for. That should have never happened. So anyway, the theories that came out about it all, and still, like I said, we'll never know the truth. Uh, Likely not. Since then, he's been out and about. He picked up JD Vance as his VP, for his VP running mate. Wasn't sure about Mr. Vance at first. USMC veteran, great, Yale, graduate, was the junior senator in Ohio for many years. It's going to be interesting to see what goes on with this race. I knew Biden was going to drop out. I think I said it. I have to go back at earlier July shows, but I was pretty sure I said something along the lines of if Biden's going to say he's going to drop out, and he said if he drops out, he'll get sick. And then what happens the very next day? He catches COVID and drops out of the race. Now you have Kamala Harris, our VP, Kamala Harris, who seems to be dodging the media. So I'm told. Um, and then you have this Tim Waltz guy who said he retired as a command sergeant major or sergeant major. I think he was with the Minnesota National Guard and he was governor up there. And I'm seeing a lot of memes and a lot of stuff going out about him. Yeah, it's crazy what's coming out of this Tim Waltz. And then I guess there is, and somebody correct me on this if I'm mistaken, but I believe there are a lot of things going out about Tim Waltz saying that he was stolen valor. I have not looked into all of this completely yet, so I do apologize, but I believe there was a stolen valor, and I believe it had something about him wearing a special forces hat or with their insignia on it or whatnot. Jamie Daniels stolen valor. Yeah, bailed on his unit. Okay, so okay, guys, so we're okay. All right, keep them coming. Yeah, I've just heard there was stolen valor. I don't know much into it. I've also heard that he basically let Minnesota burn. I've heard he's a socialist. I don't know. These are all things that I'm hearing. I will look into this. I'm sure we will talk about this again in weeks to come, only because this is the presidential race now, and he's involved. So it's going to be interesting to see. The fact that he's a veteran, JD Vance is a veteran. I know there's a lot of I don't want to say mudslinging because there's but that's basically what we're seeing. Um, but at the same time, if and Jamie saying claiming sergeant major when he retired as a master sergeant, if he in veteran community, it's we call each other out. It's if you're saying something that you weren't, and now you're going public with it, and you're in a political position, that's certainly not right. It's certainly understandable that there is some mudslinging going on, but at the same time, it's getting to a point where when do we stop that and just you know I don't know. It's going to be interesting nonetheless. That's what I'm saying. What else happened in the 3 weeks? What else happened? Uh, and don't forget, guys, share this. We're trying to get back in the saddle with everything. Share this out so people can see, because I'm sure since I talked about those certain things that they're going to banish me into the meta universe again. Um, let me see here. Ken spent 20 years, never deployed. He was protected. Yeah. Pop also claimed he carried a weapon, implying he was. And he's trying to ban AR-15s. Well, there you go. This Tim Waltz doesn't sound like a. Not going to say it. Would it? Let me ask you this: for all you vets out there, is Tim Waltz a Blue Falcon? Yes or no? I think that's a fair question to ask. Is he a Blue Falcon? Yes or no? I'm curious. And I'm sure, and I listen, I have friends who are on the left side, I got friends on the right side, and I got people down the middle. And let's see what if anybody answers that from both sides. I want to see people from both sides answer that question. That will be interesting. What else happened in the 3 weeks that we were gone? Yeah, I knew Jamie, Ken, I knew you guys would say it. Olympics. The Olympics was going on, is going on. I don't give a damn. I heard the opening was just absolutely horrendous. I heard from a lot of Christians that the opening ceremonies of the Olympics was offensive and this, that, and the other thing. And then I think it was like 2 days later, you saw a bunch of posts about the Olympics was all, the opening was for Greek mythology and all this other stuff. Okay, I could see that argument, I guess, to an extent. Not sure why you would do it in Paris and the way that the world is right now. But then I saw something else, and I don't know if this is true or not. But I did hear that the people that were in charge of the opening ceremony came out and apologized to Christians for that. I don't know if that's true or not. Anyway, I haven't watched the Olympics. I think I watched it a few times. My family had it on the TV, and it was. I don't get behind that stuff, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other, quite frankly. I gotta watch my mic. It's I bring up the Olympics. Jamie, I agree with you. It's kind of it's mm. I I bring up the Olympics because it's a prime example. Stuff like that is how the media is trying to divide. I took it as a sign of just trying to really kind of create some type of larger division between people. And you see what's going on in the world. The Olympics is a prime example of that if you have something like that going on, and then you have, you know, the stuff that going on in Israel and Iran and the bombings and the attacks and stuff like that, it is, I don't know. I think there's a better way to have done it in my opinion. Who do we have here? Darlene, good morning to you. Appreciate you jumping on. Uh Yeah. And Darlene, I'm gonna put Darlene's comment up here because she makes a good point. Two things can be true at once. People performing knew exactly what they were doing and how it would be perceived. I do agree with that statement. I totally agree with that statement. What else happened? Um, what else happened? Today. Today's a big day, not necessarily here, but in Japan. And this is something I've been watching news channels in Japanese for some reason. I don't know. It showed up on my TV and I just kind of got uh into it the last 48 hours. But today marks 79 years of the atomic bombing at Nagasaki, Japan, which was near, or excuse me, Nagasaki, Japan, near the end of World War II. Um, there was a big, they hold this event every year. Like I said, this year is today marks 79 years at 11:19, 11:10 local Japanese Nagasaki time. They held a moment of silence in remembrance. And the Mayor Shiro of Nagasaki. This is all over a lot of different news uh, articles right now, but the U.S. ambassador and several other Western countries did not attend in response to Mayor Shiro not inviting the ambassador of Israel. I just found that to be interesting, something different, something new. We don't really hear about stuff that there wasn't. Again, this was on a Japanese channel, not on a local U.S. channel like Fox or CNN. Ugh, feel dirty for saying that. So 79 years of the bombing at Nagasaki, crazy. I got to give a shout out to From the Farm. Go to fromthefarm.org. From the farm org. Find your local rancher or farmer and buy local meats, chickens, beef, what have you. And you'll be glad that you did. You save a lot of money this way. I just purchased another half cow for this year. Did it last year, and I think it's something we could be doing moving forward. So go check them out from thefarm.org. Let's get into it. We got some new shows. Here's something else that happened in the last 3 weeks. We got new shows coming to the network. We got a new show. The Strategic Veteran Podcast is now live on HMG. If you go to heroesmediagroup.com, click on the podcast, you will see all the shows that are here. on our network, Strategic Veteran podcast. And then we also, as of yesterday, the JMac podcast, which is also live as of last night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The JMac podcast went live here on HMG. JMac, I think I brought him up a couple months ago, but this past April, I was down in Phoenix, Arizona, and that's where JMac was. He invited me on the show. Met at he does a show out of I always want to say a distillery. That's not a distillery. Out of a dispensary. Really cool vibe, atmosphere. He puts on a great show. So help us welcome the Strategic Veteran podcast and the JMac podcast. Like I said, guys, it's great to be back behind the mic here. A lot more stuff coming up this month and moving forward. The rest of this month, podcast movement for all of you in the DC area, or if you're a podcaster or looking to start a podcast and you are coming out to DC August 19th through the 22nd, podcast movement. I will be there. Hit me up. Let me know. Send me a message. Would love to meet up with you. I will be booking meetings during those times already. I got a few slots still open, I think on the 20th and the 21st. So let me know if you want to grab some coffee, sit down, chit chat. Would love to meet up with you. In September, a couple of things going on. I believe September 3rd starts Run Ranger Run. Our friends over at Gallant Few have brought back their Run Ranger Run event. Go check them out at gallantview.org. And then the end of September, I believe it's the 20th and 21st, our friends over at Team Addo will be going down to Tampa, Florida again this year for Team Addo's All Heroes Welcome Ball. And this year it's Havana Nights theme. It's going to be fun. And then the very next day on the 21st, Saturday the 21st, we're going to be out fishing, doing their All Heroes fishing tournament. So if you'd like information, if you want to go to Tampa, they still have a few slots open. Go to Team Addo. That's teamaddo.org. Get registered. And I hope to see you guys in Tampa next month. Always a good time. Ken, yes, I do need to come back. We are planning a trip for early next year. I will keep you posted on that for sure. Let's get into some of the shows. Let's get into the shows. Like I said, my first week back after 3 weeks, guys. Be gentle. We're going to start with the JMac podcast. New podcast, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago. New show to the network. This week, they sit down with Christopher, a.k.a. Boats Osana, a veteran and a passionate advocate for mental health awareness. Christopher shares his journey from a challenging childhood to his impactful service in the military and the powerful photography project he's spearheading to highlight the experience of veterans dealing with PTSD. They dive into the realities of navigating the VA system. They also discuss effective coping mechanisms and explore how mental health support can be transformed within the veteran community. That's the JMac podcast. It's new. Make sure you check that out. Next, we got the Strategic Veteran. New show this week. Manuel Martinez. Manuel shares his remarkable journey from serving in the U.S. Navy to becoming a pioneering entrepreneur in the field of human resources. This episode, he dives into his early life in Miami, Florida, his military career, which included 3 deployments with various Marine units, and then a pivotal time in his life that shaped his path. He discusses his transition into the civilian life and the founding of Omni HR and his relentless pursuit of excellence in the HR industry. This was a pretty cool episode. You don't think of HR as like kind of something you want to stay away from. Very important, especially if you're a business owner. So go check it out. It's called the Strategic Veteran Podcast. All right, next up we got Homefront Sit Rep Podcast. If you're not following these guys, or if you're not watching us or following the Heroes Media Group page, these guys do a show on our page. I don't know, 3-4 times a week. Earlier the week they had Mark and Andrea from the People's Patriot Project on. Yesterday they had Scott DeLizio. He's an Army veteran, having served years in the Army National Guard, including deployments to Afghanistan in 2010. Scott is the host of the Drive On podcast. Really good show. Not on the network yet. Scott, if you're listening, let's have a conversation. Great. It's a really good show. But the Drive On podcast, he started that to connect with current and prior service members. He interviews veterans and civilians to discuss personal triumphs, life experiences, and emotional hardships to give hope and strength to the military community. It's Homefront Sit Rep Podcast this week. Check it out. Next up, we got the Professional Rule Breaker. This week, they have the amazing guest, Fletcher Ellington. Fletcher is a best-selling author of the Practice of Feeling Good, and he's here to help break us free from the struggle, overwhelm, and worry so we can live a life of love. This is another cool episode. Check it out. It's called The Professional Rule Breaker. Ryan, what's up, brother? Appreciate you jumping on, man. Be talking about you here in a minute. Again, everybody, those of you that are watching, hit the like, share. We're getting back into this after being gone, and check out all the shows. You can go to heroesmediagroup.com. On the top, just click on podcast, and you can see all of the podcast shows on the directory there. Make sure you go check them out. Mark Peterson was talking about you earlier, man. Appreciate you, brother. All right, next up, seniorlivingguide.com. They have 2 new shows coming out this month. Stay tuned for that. You're not going to want to miss them. Go listen to their previous shows, heroesmediagroup.com. Click on Senior Living Guide. You can see they do 2 to 3 shows a month, and very informal. And you think Senior Living Guide, you think, oh, I don't need that. I'm not a senior. I'm 46 years old. That's not, yeah, that's me. That's us. I'm sorry, but that's us. We're starting to get into that senior class. Go take a listen to it. Tony, what's up, brother? I appreciate you, man. Next up, we got the Patriots Inside the Wire. Gold Star Mother Tracy, she's been busy. She was out at an event in Nashville recently. This week, she has U.S. Navy veteran singer-songwriter and combat trauma recovery advocate Brooks Herring. Brooks, on this podcast, speaks on his time in the military and how those skills continue to serve him today. A surprise touch on the generational depth of his family, commitment to service, as well as his continued desire to help those who are in need. Patriots Inside the Wire also does a few shows each week as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. You can. Next up, we got Bump in the Road. Love this show. Are you facing a midlife crisis and feeling burnt out despite external success? This week's episode, Michael and Marcy share their transformative journeys of finding passion and purpose in midlife. Learn how meditation, inner guidance, and collaboration can lead to a more fulfilled life. I love this episode. This is a cool show. It's called Bump in the Road. Go check it out. Next up, we got the OGs of HMG, the Arms Room Show. This week, they're discussing getting your people to do something useful and think critically. I'm going to tell you, you want to listen to this one. Arms Room Show. Check it out. Love it. Next up, Misfit Nation podcast. This show, they're machines. On how they do stuff. It's absolutely great. Rich just does a fantastic job with the show. This week, Brian Roof, a USMC veteran with a remarkable journey of service and resilience. Brian talks about his joining the Marine Corps in 2000, leading the deployments to Kuwait, Iraq in 2003, and then being honorably discharged in 2004. Then worked in the aerospace industry for about 15 years. And despite facing challenges of being deemed 100% unemployable by the VA, Brian found a new passion in podcasting. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe his show is Every Day is a Saturday. And he's just started doing that in January of last year. So go check out Misfit Nation podcast. Like I said, they do a show a couple times a week as well. Next up, we got your 6 at 6 with the People's Patriot Project. Talked to you earlier about Mark and Andrea up there in Minnesota. This week, Al, Navy veteran, mission to introduce people to a unique system that helps us understand other people's values and communicate with them more effectively. This was a really cool episode. Now, People's Patriot Project, they do a couple shows a week. Their We Got Your 6 at 6 segment happens every Sunday night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and they do it live on social media. So make sure you go check it out. It's the People's Patriot Project. Next up, Other Side of the Firewall. Mr. Ryan Williams Sr. was on here a little bit ago. They do a show every day, Monday through Friday. The one that really caught me was yesterday's show. The host discussed news articles about the Fortune 50 company that paid a record-breaking $75 million ransom to the Dark Angels ransomware gang. And they talk about the company being frustrated with the current state of cybersecurity, hiring, and the need to attract talented individuals to the field. This was very eye-opening. 75 they paid there was a company that paid a $75 million ransom. Jesus. Wow. Other Side of the Firewall. Check it out. What do we got next? Every Man's Odyssey. This week, they're discussing why people often feel like they don't have more in their lives, whether it's success, wealth, happiness, or relationships. Cole shares his journey of feeling stuck and waiting for God to give him more, only to realize that he needed to take responsibility and be a better steward of what he already had. Wow, this one hit home for me personally because I've often, I think a lot of us may or may not have felt this way at one point or another in our lives. This was a great episode. It's called Every Man's Odyssey. Check it out. Next up, we got the Joel Evans Show. This week, Clay Edgin, the founder of Innovation Health and a pioneer of electric medicine. Clay shares his incredible journey of losing over 100 pounds, setting world records and revolutionizing recovery and performance for athletes of all ages. Some of the things that you're going to get insights from this particular episode: optimizing recovery, discovering why focusing on your nervous system is crucial for athletes. Electric stimulation therapy, learn how tools like NeuroFit and FSM can enhance performance and treat various conditions. And then cellular healing, explore the power of frequencies and how they resonate with different parts of the body for optimal health. This was really cool. Check it out, Joel Evans Show. Stay with me, guys. We got a few more. Next up, we have Label Free Podcast, and quite frankly, probably the hardest working woman in the podcast industry, Deanna Redalescu, dear friend. Label Free this week, she's talking with Corey Hardick, is the guest. Corey is known for his roles in films like American Sniper and All Eyes on Me. He shares insights into his career experiences working with iconic figures like Clint Eastwood and Tyler Perry. Born in Chicago, Corey discusses his favorite roles, including his lead role in Battle of Angels and his work in American Sniper. Great episode. Check it out. It's called Label Free Podcast. Next up, we got Because Bikers Matter podcast. Our man Vegas sits down with Jimmy Acola or Jimmy L. Acola Morales, Prairie Rose Seminole, Laura Carney, and Cheryl Woods to discuss involvement in activities at Bear Butte, which is a sacred site. The group reflects on the significance of the Red Sand Project in raising awareness about human trafficking and missing and murdered Indigenous relatives. Great episode, very eye-opening. Because Bikers Matter. Check it out. Next up, we got the MSEC podcast, Military Child Education Coalition. They recently just had their national convention. Was it last week I believe it was last week. This week on the episode, they're talking positive childhood experiences are the foundation to a child's health, development, and well-being. Dr. Elizabeth Gorman and Dr. Benny Grosky discuss promoting PCEs and how the healthy outcomes from positive experiences model supports strengthening families. It's called the MSEC podcast. Go check it out. And then last, certainly not least, this week, we have the Chasing Happiness podcast with our man Ryan. This week, he has guest Jordan Tibful, who's here to light a fire under your ambitious backside and kickstart your journey to greatness. Jordan is an Austin-based entrepreneur with a rags to riches story. Shares the secret for the sauce of success, from running seven-figure flooring company to coaching on mindset and fitness. Some of the things that you'll get out of this episode: 7 powerful ways to elevate your life. Jordan talks about his entrepreneurial secrets, learn how to he transitioned from struggling tradesman to a thriving business owner, and then mindset and fitness mastery. Find out how Jordan transformation can inspire you to take charge of your health and mindset. So that's it for the shows this week. Again, make sure you can check out all the shows at heroesmediagroup.com. Shout out to our sponsors real quick. My Tax Fella, JB Auto Clothiers, Forget Genetics, Motorcycle Safety Lawyers, Home Studio Mastery, Freedom People, Sisu Stamina, Jim Neary's Bait and Tackle, Warriors on the Water. Make sure you go check out all of these great companies and veteran-owned. HMG Beverage, our sister company. Give them a shout. Order some coffee. Let us know how you think, what you think. Like I said earlier, guys, if you're just joining me, it's great to be back after 3 weeks of being gone. We'll be back here next Friday, 9 a.m. Share this out. If there's something that you guys want me to talk about or bring up, or you have an event coming up, DM us on the socials, Heroes Media GRP, or at Heroes Media GRP, or you can email us at info@heroesmediagroup.com. That's it. Get out. God, something else that happened. The hurricane. Totally forgot to bring that up. How many people are affected by the hurricane right now? We've got tornado warnings here all day today. Like right now, it's windy as sin. You can't hear it. The wind's blowing. I'm just grateful that the internet has not gone out on me yet. So that's why I'm going to kind of keep this one short and start wrapping this up. But again, great to be back. I appreciate all of you that have jumped on, left the messages. Share this out. Those of you that watch this later on in the weekend, leave a comment. Let me know where you guys are at. If there's a topic you guys want me to discuss next week, let me know. And I'm thinking about adding a second show during the week, maybe doing a happy hour in the evening times. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on that as well. So in the meantime, again, thank you all. It's great to be back. God bless you. God bless America. Get off your phones. Get outside if you can. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you guys next week.